Hello everybody and welcome to the video. Today we're taking a look at week 3 of the 10th anniversary Hall of Heroes event, where every single week we're getting ourselves a new Hall of Heroes. Not necessarily new. These are Hall of Heroes. These are past Hall of Heroes. And obviously this week 3 is the third Hall of Heroes this game has ever had, and it'll keep doing this every week all the way up until one of the most recent Hall of Heroes. So this is your chance to get a lot of very useful units. Now, of course, I'm here to help you choose some of these units in case you're having yourself a bit of a hard time, right? And in these videos, I try to simplify that answer by asking a couple questions myself. The first question, which unit is more difficult to obtain, right? Technically, they're all 4 stars, so you would think that they're all as equally as easy to obtain, right? In the sense that obtaining 4 and 5 stars are easy, right? They're not. But in reality, 2 of these units on the list are more difficult. That being the light unit and the dark unit. So in this case, it's the light Sylph and the dark Death Knight. Reason being, it's because you can obtain the Brownie Magician, Samurai, and Kobold Bomber from mystical scrolls and legendary scrolls. Mystical scrolls specifically being scrolls that you could obtain from just farming. I mean, you could go into Giant Speed 10, go into Giant's Abyss, and within 30 runs, you can get a scroll or 2. You might not get a scroll every single 30 times repeat battle, but you can get a scroll, right? I mean, just alone, if we were to take a look at my scroll count, I haven't bought any packs, right? And I have 20 mystical scrolls. These are all these scrolls I got from the event, but 20 mystical scrolls. So, clearly, you can get tons of mystical scrolls, but LD scrolls are a bit more difficult to obtain. There are very few ways to obtain them. You can get them through the arena shop, the guild shop, and then Trial of Ascension. You can get the pieces through other means like guild content, and I think the world boss battle, they have a chance of dropping the scrolls and the pieces. But my point is, it is much more difficult to obtain these LD units. So, for the sake of the video, we're only going to consider either the Dark Death Knight or the Light Sylph. So, with that being said, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at these units, quickly look at their skills, kind of determine what you could use them in, see where they're being used in, their builds, yada yada, and then we'll make our decision at the end of the video. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first unit that we're going to be taking a look at is Aeris, the Light Sylph. Now, I've taken time to look at both these units on my own time, right? Like all day today, I was going between the two, looking at the pros and cons, and Aeris does have quite a few pros. I think he's actually a pretty decent unit, but of course, again, I've taken a look at both, and I already have my answer, but just for the sake of explaining my answer, we're going to go over the skills and all that. But I think Aeris is a really interesting unit. First off, he has a good leader skill. He increases the attack speed of all ally monsters and dungeons by 24%. That's not bad at all. I will say this, if you ever do get your hands on this unit, Tyrant is universal speed lead. Even if it's less attack speed, his is universal. You can use it anywhere. But it's interesting to see multiple units of the same family with all attack speed leads. That's pretty interesting. But I guess the Enigamis have an attack speed lead, but let me not get off track here. So Aeris is skill 1. I find this to be the most useless skill 1 in the game. I'd rather you literally just say that he attacks the enemy. But he throws a small spirit at the enemy and increases your critical rate by 30% at the next turn if you get a critical hit. Imagine if someone came up to you and was like, hey, I will give you the key to this house if you can get into the house without the key. It's like, if I could get into the house without the key, why would I care if you give me the key? Right? So it's like, you're going to give me a crit rate buff for 1 turn. It's for 1 turn, by the way. If I land a crit. Let me tell you something. You're going to build him one of 2 ways. You build all of monsters one of 2 ways. You either build them the support route or the damage dealing route. Right? You either give him more than enough crit rate for them to crit on all skills regardless of buffs or not, or you don't, and you build him the support route, and the crit rate doesn't really matter, right? Like, if I build him on a damage dealing, set, right? If I build him as a damage dealer, he's going to be running with at least 80% crit rate, around that area, regardless. So the skill 1 doesn't really do anything for me. But I don't know, maybe you could argue it. But for 1 turn, at least make it 2 turns or something. But I've never liked the skill 1s of any of these sylphs. I think they're all stupid. Does any of them have a different skill 1? No, they all have the same lame one. I'm going to be critical. I'm going to try and be as critical as possible. But his skill 2, I actually am pretty fond of. He attacks all enemies with the Cyclone 2 times. Each attack has a 40% chance of increasing the enemy's chance of landing a glancing hit for 2 turns. The damage is proportionate to the enemy's max HP every 3 turns when fully skilled up. This is actually a really good skill 2. Usually I don't like skills that only have glancing on them. And I don't hate glancing at all. I think glancing is actually a really OP debuff. I mean, when you look at how glancing works, if you can get an enemy to glance, or if you yourself glance an enemy, all you're doing is just basic small damage. You're not critting, you're not landing any debuffs, you're not doing anything. All you're doing is a small, tiny bit of damage. Which this can be a really big deal, considering everywhere you go in the game. I mean, you go into Trial of Ascension. When you go into Trial of Ascension, you're not even really too worried about the damage. You're worried about what the enemy's doing to you. The enemy is trying to stun you. The enemy's trying to place all these debuffs on you. They're not going to be able to do that, especially when you're putting AoE glancing hit debuffs on everybody. And on top of that, doing massive damage with the enemy's max HP. It makes them a pretty dangerous unit, especially in places like Trial of Ascension or even guild content. I mean, you could probably build them like you would like Spectra, where you go like speed, crit damage, HP. So you can make him tanky and he still will do a lot of damage. But I guess the only complaint is that this is every 3 turns and not every 2 turns, but you can't be too greedy. So the skill 3 is called Double Cyclone, and it attacks all enemies with the Cyclone 4 times. Jesus Christ, that's a lot of hits. But each attack has a 20% chance to stun the enemy and absorb the attack bar by 20% every 4 turns. Plus, the harmful effect rate goes up when fully skilled up. So, this skill 3 is also really good. AoE, multi-hit, has a stun, and has attack bar absorption. Again, this makes Aeris a prime unit for Trial of Ascension, right? Tons of crowd control. You gotta love it. You can also use it in guild content. You could maybe bring him into like Arena. I don't know if people are bringing him into RTA. I don't really care about RTA, if I'm being honest. But I can already see him being very useful in Trial of Ascension. I could see him being useful in guild content. But that's kind of where I see it stopping. I wouldn't bring him into Giants because the tons of multi-hits. I wouldn't bring him into Punisher's Crypt because the attack bar absorption is going to proc the boss's passive. You can maybe use him in Steel Fortress. You could probably use him in Dragons. The thing is, if you're on a normal account, you're not using him in these places. You're not using him anywhere except maybe Trial of Ascension or guild content. Because there are just way better units. You need attack bar reduction, you're going to probably use Lauren. Right? If you need attack bar reduction for the Giants boss, you'll probably use like a unit like Royd, where he'll just completely deplete the enemy's attack bar. That, or you'll use units like a Kamamir or Veramos, who, while they don't have super massive amounts of attack bar absorption like this, they have it at a more consistent rate, right? I'm just saying, unless you're an LD only account, you're not going to use Aeris in anywhere in the Kairos dungeon, really. And even on an LD only account, there are better units. But he's still a decent unit. I think he's really good. He's really impressive. His skill 2 and skill 3 make him really good in Trial of Ascension, I think. You build him Despair Focus or Despair Blade, however you feel like it. I wouldn't build him like Violent or nothing like that. I'm not taking him into PvP. That's just me. But speed, crit damage, HP. I could see people going speed, crit damage, attack. But I think it's necessary that you throw speed on this guy. You want him to move fast. At the end of the day, he's there for the crowd control. If you wanted him for damage, you just bring units like Lyn or anybody else who actually is built to do damage. You're bringing him for both, yeah, the damage, but plus the CC that he brings. So, we're going to take a look at the monster info. Let's see what people have to say about this guy. But, yeah. So, first one says Despair Focus with slot 2 speed, slot 4 HP percent, slot 6 accuracy percent runes. I can agree with that. Accuracy percent, fair enough. You can make up the HP and defense and all that in the substats, but it seems like this person is going straight support. But very useful if you attack before the enemies move. Thank you, Comp to us. Tip for Arena: if your monsters are faster than the enemy's monster, you could win more easily. Yeah, that's pretty obvious. But let's look for one from today. So, against popular opinion, I think Rage works best. Speed, crit damage, attack, accuracy subs to aim for 45% for TOA. Stuns are just a nice plus. So, we'll take a look at his thing. This is not that bad. Not bad of a build. I actually like this a little bit. Fully skilled up. Heck yeah. Nice. Get some grinds on this one right here. Actually, you can only do really defense percent. I like it. Plus 15, that thing right there. Plus 15 that. But overall, I like your build. It is really good. Nice. In my opinion, you're probably going to really need him for Trial of Ascension hard. I would give him HP here. He's not going to lose too much damage. The only reason you would go attack percent is if you really need to speed up your TOA team. But I love your build. That's not bad. I was ready to sit here and kind of argue with you, because I think you should take advantage that he has AoEs and kind of go Despair. But I guess this guy really just wants to do tons of damage, which could work as well if you're considering that if you're considering the fact that you could take this guy into the Fire Beast as well if you don't have any AoE damage dealers. But we'll look at one more. Okay, so we have this one here. It says, at Luminous, his damage scales to HP on second skill. Also will get extra turn after using skill 3 accurately. So if he's fast and on Despair, he can CC a full team, but also have more damage. That is correct. If you enter, for example, let's say you enter Trial of Ascension floor 90, right? And the very first wave you enter, right? Everyone is going to have near full attack bar. Even the enemy is going to have at least 80 to 90% of their attack bar completely full. You enter, you skill 3, and if you land that skill 3 where you're absorbing the attack bar, which shouldn't be that hard, you attack 4 times. You better at least land it once. He will completely get his attack bar back. And then you can go with skill 2. And when you're built on Despair, you could stun an entire team. It is really, really, really strong if you build him the correct way. But this person didn't. Honestly, I've never seen him doing anything good and now I got him. Really looks like a waste of an LD scroll. At least if I got Zinc, it would be much better. Jesus Christ. But you didn't build him, brother. Anyways, let's look at the usage, I guess. Actually, any of my friends? No. Usage. I don't got no friends. What am I talking about? Arena, which again, I can see you using him in Arena. He's not bad. Again, if you can enter and be fast enough, I could see this team, the one with the LD onlys. Because you get Jin, who enters, you use his strip, and then you hit them with Aeris, and then you just get these 2 units. That's a lot of strips. Wow. Brother, you just do not want the... I guess I could see why this team works. Tons of movement, tons of stripping, tons of stuns, attack bar absorption, all that stuff. You're winning those fights. I know you're winning a lot of those fights. But, Rift of Worlds, the Fire Beast... Again, I understand because of the AoE damage. Though, in my opinion, you have so many options. I don't know why you're using Aeris of all of them. But, who knows? Maybe your Aeris is just really powerful. That or you're on an LD only account like this one right here. I can get the LD only. But, let's see. Also LD only. The top one isn't LD only. That's what confused me. Other than that, World Guild Battle, yep. And then Trial of Ascension. Trial of Ascension is probably where you're going to mainly use this guy. And then Dragon's Lair. This one is LD only. Yeah. See, like I mentioned earlier, you're really only ever using him in the Kairos dungeon if it's LD only. Otherwise, there's no reason to use him. But Trial of Ascension, he's good for. So I think I'm pretty on the money, right? Where it's just his places are Trial of Ascension and guild content. Everywhere else, it's he's not needed. But statistics: Despair Focus, Despair Blade, Despair Energy, Despair Focus, Despair Revenge. Makes sense. Slot 2, Speed percent, which is what I agree with. Again, at the end of the day, he's a crowd control unit. He needs to move fast. You need him to move fast. Crit damage percent, I agree with. HP percent, I can also agree with. Really depends on what you need him for. He can still dish out a lot of damage, even without really a damage build. But slot 6 attack percent, then HP percent. In my opinion, I would have HP percent being the first one, because remember, you're bringing him into Trial of Ascension hard. Even if you anticipate that he's just going to land every single one of his stuns, you might get one of those runs where he doesn't land anything. No one's landing nothing. And if he's dying to one attack, that's a problem. So it's just build him with a bit of HP. Speed, crit damage, HP percent, and he'll still get out tons of damage. But, I mean, pretty decent build here, obviously. And then his artifacts are obviously going to be attack percent. I can see it right now. But, let's move on to Diaz. Oh, real quick. What would I rate him? I'd rate him like a 7 out of 10. He's not a bad unit at all. What is a 7 out of 10 on? I don't know. I think he's above average. He's better than the average unit in this game, especially for an LD. I'm glad this is an LD that actually has some decent skills. It seems like a lot of LDs that are just sitting here aren't that great, but 7 out of 10. Really good unit, but not super versatile. And I got some choice words for this unit at the end of the video, so stay till then. The second option that we have is Diaz, the Dark Death Knight. Now, Diaz is kind of like Aeris in the way where he's not super versatile. You're not going to bring Diaz everywhere you go, but Diaz is a pretty interesting unit. Let's take a look at his skills. So, his first skill disturbs the target's HP recovery for 2 turns with a 50% chance and attacks... oh my god. With an attack that increases its damage according to your max HP. The harmful effect rate goes up by 30% when fully skilled up. Disturb HP recovery. While you look at a majority of the game, like Giants, you're not going to need it. Dragons, you don't need it. Necropolis, you do need Disturb HP recovery, but you're not getting it from this guy. You're not bringing Diaz into Necropolis. Not successfully. You're not really bringing him into Kairos at all. I don't see why you would bring him into Trial of Ascension. You don't need him there. You could use him in guild content for sure, but you're going to find that the only places like Disturb HP recovery works, especially single target, single hit like that, is going to be Rift Raid, which I can spoil it for you now. This guy is a Rift Raid unit. He's a Rift Raid unit and a Light Beast unit, which you'll definitely see in his passive. But let's get to the second skill before I go off explaining about it. His skill 2 is Check and Destroy. He attacks the enemy 2 times and weakens the attack power and the defense for 2 turns with a 75% chance with each attack. This attack will deal more damage according to your max HP every 2 turns. You do not have to skill this guy up. I think that's insane. You can go with Diaz and not skill him up ever. I mean, you get the harmful effect rate, which I think it's worth it. If you can get extra dupes of this guy, then by all means go for it. But you don't need it. Skill 2, 2 hits. Each of those hits have a chance to attack break and defense break the enemy. And I want to say one thing for new players is, because I will try to build this guy eventually, and it's like, I'm not going to build him damage. I don't think you should build him damage, even if it says damage according to max HP. Just because it says that doesn't mean that you need to build him damage. Honest to God, build him as tanky as possible. He's a very simple unit. I'm glad that he's not as stat hungry as many other units. You could build him violent. You could build him on probably determination. You could build him on fight runes to help boost the stats of the rest of your team. But you could, again, build him violent and all that. Interesting unit, right? And you could go like speed, defense, HP. You go speed, HP, whichever one. But you just aim for the accuracy. You want him to land these debuffs. Because when you go into places like Rift Raid, you want to land a Disturb HP recovery. You want to land the attack and defense breaks. And I'm so glad that these have a pretty high base chance. I'm so tired of looking at skills that say, oh, you have a 10% chance of breaking the attack and defense of the enemy. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, come on. Okay, that was a bit of an over-exaggeration. But now to his passive. Control. He decreases the chance of receiving a critical hit by 50%. This is a pretty big deal. Obviously, if the enemy's not critting, they're not doing any damage. They're not doing any damage to you, which I'm sure if you guys, any of you have done your daily arena battles, one of the enemy's units is Diaz. I can't remember who it is, but you can go into the arena. One of the enemies is Diaz. And I know some of you guys enter and you'll wipe out the entire enemy team, and then Diaz is sitting there with like 30% HP just looking at you like, oh my gosh. But he reduces the damage received from light attributes by 50%, which makes him good for like the light beast, because he could sit in the front row and tank. And then reduces the damage that other allies receive by 15%. So he's almost like Darien in that sense, where other allies receive less damage. But this effect does not accumulate with other damage reduction effect skills. So, again, a very specific unit. You're only going to really ever use him for Rift Raid or Light Beast if you decide to use him there. In my opinion, I'm probably not going to use him for Light Beast if I were to use him, because it's like my Light Beast, he's not going to contribute really anything to the Light Beast other than just standing there and tanking tons of damage. But let's look at this. Let's look at a couple reviews. Offend, go. They didn't build him. Put him in your third team. Fran, Diaz, frontline. Kali 2A, Shayna, Sabrina, Talia, backline. So what this is referring to is the Rift Raid, where he's saying this, when he says put him in your third team, he's talking about solo R5, right? You go into R5, you place the additional placements, so you're all three of the teams. So you have to have quite a few units to do this, and those units have to be capable of doing R5. But yeah, I mean, that's not a bad team. Kali, Shayna, Sabrina, Talia. That's a lot of damage. 2024, 326. Double Shield Will. This is not how I would build him at all. He doesn't have a lot of speed. He has some defense. He has some HP. Next to no accuracy. Okay. I wonder what you took off. I wonder if you took off the crit damage percent. I guarantee you there's crit damage on it. These runes are okay. They could be better, but you know what? These aren't blue runes, so I can't complain. And you're skilling him up, so cool. Again, speed, HP, defense, or speed, defense, or not speed, double defense, but speed, HP, whatever. But tanky with some accuracy. You want him with accuracy. But let's see. Hey, I recognize this name. Choose him from the Hall of Heroes event was his comment. But he went triple. Okay. So we got another comment. Does this passive affect all three teams in the raid? No. Actually, no, it doesn't. Because that's why. You know, because it doesn't. That's it. No, for real though, it doesn't. No, it only affects his team. Wondering if I should build more than one. No, okay, so before you go and try to build more than one, you can't bring dupes. I don't believe you can bring dupes. I think I tried before to bring dupes, but you can't in Rift Raid. Because if you could, that would make my life a whole lot easier on some of my other accounts. But, again, HP, okay, Blue Rune. 5-star, dude. Terrible build. No, terrible. I'm not giving you any credit. HP, defense. Gosh. Like, crit damage percent. You could roll the crit damage percent out. Go and farm some enchanted gems. Grind it, or gem out the crit damage percent. In here, I mean, you could gem out the resistance and put accuracy. You shouldn't even put this rune on. Crit damage percent, grind it out. You shouldn't even be using this rune. Sell this rune. Jesus Christ. Whatever, man. No, I don't like your build. The last thing you need to be worrying about is Rift Raid, if those are your runes. For LD only R5 team. Oh, thank the heavens. Okay, this rune looks like this build looks like it's actually worth something. 104 speed, 1600 defense, 1500 or 15,000 HP, 72% accuracy. Holy God. Oh my God. Actually worth something. Wow, he actually has not that bad of attack percentage. Nice. We'll end it there. Let's go to usage. So Rift Raid. Yeah, Rift Raid. There's nothing but Rift Raid. And then Light Beast and a little bit of Arena, but the Dark Beast I don't understand. But yep. Pretty simple unit. Energy Guard, Revenge, Guard, Endure, Revenge. A lot of people are, what is with the Revenge? Guard, double Revenge, Energy, Endure, Revenge, Energy Guard, Endure, Energy Guard. Maybe I'm building him wrong. Holy crap. But slot 2 is speed percent. Or not speed percent, but slot 2 is speed. I don't know why everyone's going HP defense. Maybe I'm just dumb, but HP defense, yep. HP defense, yep. So let's go back to the event, I guess. Jesus. Okay, so before I tell you guys who I would pick, I'm gonna ask you guys a couple more questions. So by the time I give you guys my answer, it seems a bit more clear as to why I picked them, right? So my first question is, what is it that you need, right? You need a unit that helps you clear Trial of Ascension, or a unit that's gonna help you clear Rift Raid, right? And obviously a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I need a Trial of Ascension unit, but I also need a Rift Raid unit. Which one, and it devolves into many more questions. Like a couple questions could be, which one is more difficult to obtain? Which one is more important? And I could literally sit here forever and talk about it. But in my opinion, Aeris, the Light Sylph, is a fun pick. He's a fun pick, but not a necessary pick. He's not a game changer by any means, right? Diaz is a game changer, right? He will help you with your R5. This account right here has completed a lot of content in the game. A lot. I mean, we could sit here and I could spam a little sticker. We look at the account. This account's not too old. And we've completed all the Abyss Hards, except for Punisher's Crypt. I just been too lazy to do anything about it. But it's like Triple S, a lot of the beasts. Level 5 R5. Or obviously level 5 R5. But R5 has been completed. I do it on a consistent basis. Right? The only problem I have with Trial of Ascension is having to sit there and let the units do it. I get bored. Right? Otherwise, this Trial of Ascension would be completed. Right? But R5, I could tell you, is significantly harder. But it's also that much more important than Trial of Ascension. See, with Trial of Ascension comes and you complete it all, and you do it once a month. Once a month. Versus R5, you're going to do on a weekly basis, if not on an every other day basis. And I just feel like that just continues to compel me towards Diaz's side. But on top of that, when you consider the teams that you use for Trial of Ascension, you're going to go one of two teams. Your first ever official team is going to be nothing but crowd control units. You're going to bring units like Veramos, Spectra, Tyrant, just generally units that prevent the enemy from moving. And while Aeris does that job, you don't need him. In fact, by the time you get to farming like dungeons like Giants and Dragons and Necropolis, you're going to be moving on to your very next team in Trial of Ascension, which is going to be a dot team, right? You're going to be using units like Sath or Thrain or any of those units that are going to just apply massive amounts of dots. You'll move on to a dot/CC team, which then Aeris falls off, right? Aeris, again, is a fun pick, but not a necessary pick. Diaz is more necessary, right? He can change your R5 runs, right? He's going to be really important. Being able to reduce the damage that all allies receive is big. Disturb HP recovery, attack and defense breaks at a pretty consistent rate too. I think he's a really good unit. And I was sitting there by myself early today. I was at work and I was like, man, Aeris, I mean, he's good. And I don't want anyone to think that he's not good. He's a really good unit. But he's more of a fun pick. And I'm going to keep saying that. He's fun. But he's not necessary. You can go your whole entire game without ever really needing him. And the same thing kind of goes for Diaz, but Diaz brings a lot more to the table. Rift Raid is so important. It is so important. Grindstones are so important. And again, I could sit here forever and talk about how important it is. But I can guarantee you, most people have Trial of Ascension down to a T. It's not that hard for people to complete Trial of Ascension. Again, the problem that most people have is sitting there and taking the hour or two it takes to go through 100 floors. But R5, even I sometimes have trouble. Like, every 90 runs, I'll have like one loss. And Diaz can change that for a lot of people. So, in my opinion, again, I could sit here forever and keep arguing it, but I think Diaz is the choice you should go with. It's going to be better for you in the long term. You can get this guy now, and then a year from now, when you finally decide to do Rift Raid, you can build him, and he'll be viable, he'll be usable, and he's going to be your forever unit. You will never really need to replace him at all. But Aeris is not only a fun pick and a unit that you're going to use once a month to complete Trial of Ascension, but he's not your forever pick. You will replace him with more free-to-play units. So I'm trying to give you guys, I'm trying to tell you guys to pick a unit that you're going to use forever. And I think that unit is Diaz. But if you guys have a different opinion, I'd like to hear it in the comment section. I'm going with Diaz. I've already started getting the runes and all that needed for this guy. But tell me what you guys think. Do you guys think that I'm stupid, dumb? I'm a dummy, dumb in the comments? I don't know. You guys tell me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.